Welcome to Opensim Living. I am Spax Orion, and today I'm going to discuss the easiest way I have found to host an instance of OpenSimulator. Before I begin, today's shout out goes to opensimworld.com, the best source I have found for hypergrid destinations. They have listings for just about every niche you can think of and coordinates you can plug into your map and teleport to. Well worth your time to see opensimworld.com. By the way, folks, I am using a browser plugin which makes all web pages appear black with white texts. It's kind of geeky, but it helps to reduce eye fatigue. So that's why my web pages may look different than how they may appear on your computer. With that out of the way, the purpose of this video is to share what I did to easily self-host a region. Some of you might ask, why would you want to host your own region when there are so many good hosts out there? Good question. Here's the answer. Illustrated on Hypergrid Business, there are many places who offer hosting for a fee. Many of these services are great if you are starting out, but each of them may have restrictions on what you can do with the land you are renting. Some regions will not allow OAR, which is land archives, or IAR, which are inventory archives. A very popular grid only launches regions when someone wants to access them at the cost of making the user wait. Other grids will place different restrictions on you, like the inability to export goods or maybe impose restrictions on other resources such as NPC usage. The only way you can have complete control over your region is to host it yourself, and it is not that difficult to do once you learn how to do it. And the greatest benefit of all, as far as hosting your own region is concerned, is the cost. In many cases, it is free of charge. And, well, you can't beat free, can you? I thought not. You also have benefits that hosting providers just cannot give you. In thinking about doing this, I thought about all of the videos that are already on YouTube, and there are over 700 videos which illustrate how to set up Opensim with MySQL. So my intent here is not to reinvent the wheel. Some of the videos are older, but they are still relevant to today's standards. Following these guides, I was able to get a region connected and running within a day, and I had a basic understanding of the workings of the OpenSimulator software. After I had a grid connected, I read through the wiki at opensimulator.org to learn about the features I could enable or disable in the Opensim INI file. Before I start on where to get the software and the guide to set it up, there is one major requirement. In order to be able to run an OpenSimulator server, you will need to enable port forwarding in your router. For a single region, you will need to add a service and choose the TCP and UDP ports of 9000. The illustration here shows 9000 to 9003 for UDP, which gives me room for future expansion. Your router may have a different appearance than what you're seeing here, and you'll need to read the documentation for your router on how to control its features from your web browser. There are two grids I know of who provide their own implementation of the Opensim software pre-configured for connecting to their grids. For the American content, you would want to use OSGrid, and for the European grid, you would want Metropolis Metaversum at hypergrid.org. Since I am in the Eastern Standard Time Zone, I will discuss the OSGrid method, and you will not believe how easy this is. In the past, I tried Diva Distro and the bare-bones OpenSimulator package and ran into problems with it. The OSGrid version of the software was very easy to set up, and as stated, it's pre-configured. So, I mean, you really don't have to do a whole lot with this, and you would be able to connect to it and set up a grid. So, to do this, go to osgrid.org and press Join Now if you do not have an account. You will assign your OSGrid avatar to the land you will be hosting, and you are going to host on OSGrid or Metropolis. Those grids run on donations, so please consider dropping them some coin to keep them operational. Press the download link and choose the simulator software you want. If you want to be on the bleeding edge, choose the current release. If you want to opt for stability as I did, you'll probably want to go with the previous release. And if you want to look at the dynamic link libraries and source code, then you are probably geekier than I am and should not be watching this video in the first place. So extract the contents of this archive somewhere on your hard drive where you have easy access. From the top menu, pick Grid and Running a Simulator. Now we will get to the fun part. Your router is configured, the contents of your archive have been extracted. Let's roll up our sleeves and get the ball rolling on this one. This entire page is a step-by-step tutorial on getting your region up and running on OSGrid. With proper router settings, I was able to get a region up and running on my first attempt. I could not say the same for other methods I have spoken about earlier. It gives you a list of information you will be asked for when you initially launch a region. It's going to want to know your username, your IP address, the region name you want, the estate name you want, the region location. We'll get to that in a moment here. And then the port number. Remember, we configured port 9000 in the settings earlier? Good stuff. Let's move on. On to the map coordinates. It is best to pick your own rather than using the ones they suggest, so click the link next to Main Map. Scroll to an area where there are not many regions. You want to find a nice empty area where you will not have any neighbors. This is especially important if you are going to be using megaprims or sim surroundings which are larger than your region. This is something I have done on Ozone, so having neighbors is not in my best interests because of the way I designed my region. The choice is yours. I found a spot at 10,075, 160. We need to write that down because we will input the information into Opensim exe when we run it. In the installation section, we can skip the readings of the INI files for now because the Opensim OSGrid software is already pre-configured with SQLite, and you should be able to get a grid up and running in minutes. Navigate to the folder where you extracted the Open Simulator software. Inside the bin folder, you will need to locate and run Opensim exe. If you're using Linux or Mac, you would want to make sure that mono is updated and then run mono Opensim exe from your terminal. When Opensim exe is running, you will be presented with a text-based terminal application. This is nothing to fear. Just follow the prompts and everything should be all right. The first thing it's going to ask you, what's the region name? The next thing that will appear is a region UUID, which will automatically be generated. Don't do anything to it, just press enter. Then it's going to ask you for your region location. Put in the values you found on the map. Remember that I found 10075, 10060? Well, actually, I haven't taken those. You could try it, but it may bark at you. So make sure you find unique coordinates and put them in there. For the internal IP, you can leave that alone. Press enter. Allow alternate ports. No change there. Hit enter. External host name. Put in your IP address, not the one you see here in the video. Whatever your IP address that it's reporting to you. And of course, if you're, make sure that you're not hiding behind a VPN or something like that when you do this. You might run into a bottleneck there. So make sure it's a computer on your network that isn't being tunneled or anything like that, because you're going to need to have your correct IP address. Okay. The next thing that it wants to know is, do you want to join an existing estate? No is the default choice. Hit enter. Put in the estate name, any name you want. Then it will ask for your user first name. So if that's Joe, put it in as Joe. And then it will ask for the last name. If it's Smith, put in Smith. Very simple, very easy. When all is said and done, just wait for all the text to scroll through. It's going to go through its little routine. It won't take very long. And just wait till you see it say logins enabled. Once you see that, it's time to open up Firestorm, Singularity, or whichever viewer you like to use. Log into your OSGrid account with your username and password. And then once you're in there, open up your map and then search for your region. And you should be able to find it. So you'll see here on the screen, there's my ozone right there. And then I can teleport to that region. Of course, your region won't look like mine. It will just be a little island with a little dot in the center. So at the end of the day, nothing beats running your own region once you learn how to set it up. And I highly recommend you check out some of the other tutorials on YouTube on setting up MySQL, because you'll get better performance out of your OSGrid setup if you hook that up to MySQL. Plenty of videos that explain how to do that, so there's no need for me to reinvent the wheel and make another tutorial on that. Once you learn how to run your own region, pretty much the idea of renting a region for $15 a month from one of the major providers out there becomes unthinkable, especially when it doesn't take that many resources at all. This computer I'm running right now only has 8 gigs of RAM. It's a quad core. I mean, it's not even fancy by today's standards, and it runs the region beautifully. So why would I want to, have an extra bill every month to be able to, just for a hobby? It just doesn't make sense for me. So, having my own region, having full control over it, is the better option for me as a serious-minded builder. Well, that's all I have on this topic today. I am not sure what I'm going to be covering next on Opensim Living, but I'm sure I'll have something equally fun. So until then, peace out.